13 guys. 13.
Yeah, that means a lot of guys are watching that debate.
Never.
What do you mean? I could multitask.
They're all going to lose IQ points by watching that thing.
By the way, guys, I'm just letting you know they called me and they said, we need a mute Nazi. Can you join? And I said, I'm sorry, I have the daf. I got to mute other people.
Very good. Okay, so the chazzan from yesterday, we were first. It started off. What's the ikr place? Is your ikr makam sleeping or eating? All right. The machlokes, then the machlokes of wives, multiple wives are considered part of the household, and multiple slaves. Talmidim, we said, are considered part of the household. And when you have an eruv chatzeres, and then you're going to combine with another eruv, does everybody need to be part of it, or only one? Right? And then yeshiva bachrim considered living where they sleep or where they eat, and rabbeim and talmidim the same thing. And then the Mishnah says 5 yards, that whole case of 5 yards opening into each other and also to the mavui. And then what happens if one of the houses wasn't part of the mavui? That's the end of the Mishnah. And we said the Mishnah is Rameir. And then Rav said the pshat in the Mishnah is that they were not connected to each other, the yards, which is basically where we take it up. We're taking it up now. Yeah. So we're on the bottom line of Ayin Gimel Amud Beis. Tonight's stuff actually goes quick, but we'll try and do more for tomorrow.
Yeah, I do one before. I thought of it this morning. I didn't want to ask about other daf. If we're two people are going into the Eruv and one person forgets, I could be zoicha him. I could, you say Zachan Adam Shloi B'Fanav, and I put in Mishtata for him, or not? Can I do that?
What was he did what?
One fellow forgot wasn't going to do it, whatever. So I put in the challah for him and said I'm want to be zoicha for him.
Why not?
Okay, now so here's this really question. Shabbos morning, I see this fella's playing basketball in the Eruv. So can I say what kind of schus I did? I get the Cleveland guys being over in Issa now. So
can you rescind it?
Prayer break rescind the Eruv.
I hear. Well, that's going to be a little bit tomorrow's. It's in tomorrow's stuff, really.
Okay.
Really, in tomorrow's stuff. Rescinding a bittul. It's really So I guess let's wait till tomorrow. As Hashem and see.
Fine.
Okay, so very good. So on the bottom line on Ayin Gimel Beis, Gufa Amarav Ein Moving Niter Belechi v'Koreh. Well, we have to finish the sentence. A mavui, you are not matter a mavui. Again, let's just to reiterate. Right, so a mavui is considered like a street. It's like a dead end street. So it has a special dispensation that you're allowed to either use a lechi or a koreh by the opening of the mavui in order to be matter carrying there. But that's only because it needs to have a certain amount of people going into that mavui. If it's a private street, then it's considered a chatzer, and then it needs an actual mechitza around it, or a tzuras a pesach, right? So gufa, right? So that's basically what the Gemara is going to start off. So gufa amarav ein mavui niter belechi v'koreh. We're not matter a mavui with a lechi and a koreh. Achiu batim v'chatzeres psuchen l'seicha. He needs to have houses and yards open to it, meaning 2 houses into a yard, and you need 2 of them. So basically, you need 2 yards, 2 houses each. The Shmuel disagrees. He says, "Afilu bayis echad b'chatzer achas." Even if it's 1 house, 1 yard, that's enough to use the kula of a lechi or a koreh. Rabbi Yochanan Amar afilu churva. Rabbi Yochanan says even more mekel. He says even if there's just a destroyed house, right, on one side of the, meaning you don't need to have 2 chatzers. Even if one side of the mavui has a destroyed house, that's enough. Yeah. So Amarle, so Zok the Gemara. So Amarle Abai Rav Yosef. Amar Rav Yochanan afilu b'shvil ashel kramim. So did Rabbi Yochanan say even if it's a what do you call it? A walkway that goes to a vineyards, right? That's what his question was. Meaning that's also not a place of living, right? So is that enough? Is that enough to be considered a separate house? Yeah. So Amarle, no, he said it by a churva that's enough to allow a lechi and a koreh and a mavui, because a churva at least was a house. But a road that goes to a vineyard, that's not, nobody lives in a vineyard, so therefore that's not enough to allow a mavui.
What's the crux of the machlokes between Rav and Shmuel? What are
Yeah,
the
so
two?
from the Vayter and the Gemara, it just seems like based on the lashon of the Mishnah, right? Because the Mishnah says bottom and chatzer is plural, so therefore it needs to be multiple.
But why is the Mishnah like that?
So what the pshat is, because it needs to be something with the public. So we're saying that a public means two houses for two chatzeres, a two of two. That's what one sheet says, right? That's what that's Rav says. And Shmuel says, no, what plural can be one house to one yard and another house to another yard. And that's enough. You don't need to have two houses. Right? Meaning it seems like Rav is learning that it's multiple houses to multiple yards. Shmuel is learning, no, it just needs to be multiple dwellings. So that's one house to one chatzer. That's the way I understand it. I don't know if I'm correct or not. Yeah. So Amalei, Lo Yamar Rabbi Yochanan Ela B'churva D'Chazil L'Dira. Shul Shagam D'Lo Chazil. Fine. Okay. So Amar Rav Huna Bar Chinina V'Azar Rabbi Yochanan the Tamei. And Rabbi Yochanan goes lechi Tosai. The Tanan Amar Rab Shimon Echad Gagos V'Echad Karfeifos V'Echad Chatzeros Rishus Ha'achas and Lekelim Sheshavzu L'Saycha V'Lo Lekelim Sheshavzu L'Saycha Bayis. Right. We had this a few times before. Rab Shimon has a chiddush. And he says, even if you didn't make an eruv, right? But if there are utensils or kalim or a ball or whatever it is, or a chair that's in a yard, and a karfef is like a bigger yard, or on the roof, yeah. If you have those things sitting in the yard from before Shabbos, Reb Shimon says, even if there's no eruv, you're allowed to carry them around the yards. But the condition is that it can't come from the house to the yard on Shabbos. It has to only the stuff that's in the yard. Okay, so what does this have to do with what we're discussing? So Amar Rav halacha Reb Shimon, and Rav holds it like Reb Shimon. But that's only if you didn't make eruve chatzeres with the meaning from one house to the yard. Meaning we're talking about this is multiple yards you can carry things into, right? But Rav is saying that halacha like Reb Shimon, as long as the person didn't make an eruv with his own particular yard. Aval irvu, but if you did, Gazrina Dilma Asila Afuke Mani the Batim Lechatzer, we're afraid that you're going to carry out the kalim from the house to the chatzer, and you're going to end up carrying out to a different chatzer, right? Meaning this Reb Shimon's din is only for kalim that are found in the chatzer from before Shabbos. If one of the yards has an eruv with the houses, then we're afraid that you're going to take stuff out of the house into you're going to take it out, instead of taking it out only into your yard where you have an eruv, you're going to end up carrying it to your neighbor's yard too, because you see everybody carrying the kalim from the neighbor's yard to all the neighbor's yards, but without realizing those are kalim that were already in the yard from before Shabbos, so they have the special kula of Reb Shimon, right? But so if there's no eruv whatsoever and nobody's carrying out of the houses to their own yards, so then fine, it's no problem. But if some people are carrying from the houses to the yard, then you're going to end up getting confused. You're going to carry from the house into other people's yards, which you don't have an eruv for. So that's Rav says. Shmuel makes no difference. He doesn't differentiate, and he holds like he holds. Reb Shimon says in any situation, if any kalim that are in the yard, you're allowed to continue to carry. Reb Yochanan says Allah is like Reb Shimon. Bein irvu, bein lo irvu. Whether you make an eruv, whether you don't make an eruv, whatever it is. So okay, so now. We're trying to prove what Rabbi Yochanan's shita is by mavui. Therefore, what do you see from this? That Rabbi Yochanan holds, right? That there's no chashash that somebody's going to carry out kalim from his house to his yard. So here too, there's no gezerah that a person's going to carry out his kalim from the chatzer to the churva, right? So therefore, so therefore, since it's aser, you're still going to be allowed to use the lechi and the koreh to be mated a mavui, right? So but that's only by a churva, not by a walkway going to a kerem, right? Yeah. So that's what we're saying. So Yosef Rabruna v'kamer lahashmaitza. So Rabruna was sitting, and he said over the shmaitza, Amar le Rabbi Elazar bar bei Rav, Amar le Rabbi Elazar bar bei Rav. Young bar bei Rav means son of Talmidim. Yeah. Amar Shmuel Achi, did Shmuel really say that it only needs one house going to 1 yard and that's it? So Amar le he said, yeah, Shmuel said that. Amar le Achvi le Ushpiza. Show me the place where Shmuel sleeps. Achvi le, so he showed it to him. Also look, made the Shmuel. He came in front of Shmuel. Amar le, Amar Mar Hachi. Did Mar really say that in order to allow a lechi, in order to allow a mavui with just a lechi or a koreh, all you need is one house to 1 yard and one house to another yard? Amar le, he said yes. So he said, "V'hamar hu da'amar ein lanu be'eruvin ela k'lashon Mishnah," saying it wasn't Shmuel. We had this a few blot ago. Said that by Eruvin we use the lashon of the Mishnah. Sha'amavi l'chatzeres k'chatzer lebatim. That a mavui to chatzeres is like a chatzer to batim, right? And it's all plural. So you're the one that said when the Mishnah says something plural, it has to be plural. So how are you not using? How are you allowing a mavui to be matar a mavui with a lechi and a koreh when only one bias into one chatzer? It needs to be multiple chatzer. So Ishtik, he was quiet. So Shmuel was quiet. Now the question is,
what does that mean? He asked, show me Shmuel's bedroom. What does that mean?
he just wanted to know where he was sleeping so he can go talk to him.
Uh-huh.
He was spying him out. He said, where is he? Where is he now? You mean, why didn't he just find him in the Besmerish? Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. Yeah, tell me where he's sleeping. I don't know. Unless Shmuel
wanted to ask him in person.
No, he was asking him in person, but he didn't know where to find him.
Rashi.
What? Yeah, he wanted to go ask Shmuel, but why couldn't he go find Shmuel in the Besmerish?
Wasn't there.
Must be Shmuel's like the other Rosh Hashivas, and they hide out so that nobody bothers them. Maybe that's a shot.
Rashi says in the bottom, the Ozuli went, Shiloh is Shmuel. He went to go ask.
Right, but he wanted to go find where he was sleeping.
Not sleeping, where he was. Maybe
I'm saying Ushpiza, Ushpiza is not Besmerish. Ushpiza is where
he was home. He was home learning.
He was home. No, Ushpiza is not. He was a guest. It wasn't his house. I don't think Ushpiza means a house. Right? Ushpiza are guests.
Rashi says the Ozul is Shiloh is Shmuel.
Where? But in his Ushpiza.
Ushpiza is a house, no?
No, Ushpiza is more like a hotel. Guest house, whatever it is. Shmuel must have been traveling.
It wasn't Besmerish. It was a house.
It was a house. It wasn't Besmerish, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah. So anyways, Ishtik, the Shmuel was quiet. So now what does that mean? We know that the klal is shtika ka'ita, right? If somebody's quiet, it means he's maida. So the Gemara asks, Kibla minay or like Kibla minay? Was Shmuel makabel it or not? Right? Meaning, did Shmuel change his mind and say that in order to be matar a mavui with a lechi or a koreh, you need to have two houses into 2 yards? So Tashma, the hu mavua, the hadar dayabe Avos bar ihi. So now there was a mavui that Avos bar ihi lived in, right? And we're going to see on Amud Beis exactly what was so special about this mavui. Avid law lechia v'shara le Shmuel, and he made a lechi for the mavui that he slept in, and Shmuel, for the mavui of where this Ava's house went into, v'shara le Shmuel, and Shmuel said it's mutter with just the lechi. Asar of Anan, Shadya, came along Rav Anan, right? And he threw the lechi down, right? And it's interesting. Rashi says after Shmuel died, right? After Shmuel died, that means before Shmuel died, he didn't do this. It's covered for Shmuel.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm not. I guess, right?
Yeah.
So Amar Mavua the Darnabe, right? This mavui. Where I slept, Vasina Mishmei Demar Shmuel, right? And I came, meaning this is what Ava is saying. I had this mavui, and I mated it according to the name what Shmuel said it. Naisi Rav Ana Barav Nashtiye and Nashte Mon, meaning he's going to take it and throw it away from us. Who is this fellow? After Shmuel dies, he comes and knocks down our lechi that Shmuel came and mated on our mavui, right? So what do you see? That Shmuel was only 1 yard, one house into 1 yard. So we see from this that Shmuel obviously wasn't makabel for him because he matered a mavui that had a lechi, right?
These are strange things. These just seem to be very strange things. These whole 8 lines in the Gemara.
Yes,
I was thinking maybe Shmuel's psak was based on where he lived, on how he lived. He lived, I have no idea, but he lived different. Maybe that's what I wanted to see, his shpiza. It wasn't like a regular shishivas or whatever. That's what I wanted to see. That's what I was able to knock it down because his psak was based just on his unique situation.
Okay, maybe that would answer up the Gemara's kasha. Maybe he's saying he's really was chazzan. Yeah, I hear. It's interesting because I was thinking that the reason why Rashi says after Shmuel died, what are we trying to figure out here? Did Shmuel change his mind when, who was it, Rav Nachman? Who asked him the kasha? Rav Bruna. Rav Bruna asked the kasha to Shmuel, and seemingly Shmuel was quiet, so seemingly Shmuel agreed to him. So we're trying to figure out if he changed his mind. So we bring this story. Now, how do you know this story happened before the Rav Bruna, after the Rav Bruna asked the kasha? Maybe this happened way before, right? Meaning we're bringing a story that Shmuel matered a lechi with 1 house, 1 yard, right? So we're saying must be Shmuel didn't change his mind. Well, who says maybe this Maisa happened before he changed his mind? So I think that's what Rashi's saying, that it happened after the death of Shmuel, meaning that was towards the end of Shmuel's life, right? But then who says? Maybe it happened years before. I don't know. I think that's what it's tied into. Either way, so it's the Gemara wants to say that he was clearly Shmuel was not makabel from him. The Gemara says no. Really, we're going to say that he was makabel. Chazzan who dahava achol nama bebeise. No, here we're talking about with the chazzan, which doesn't really mean the chazzan. He means the shamash, right? He used to eat his nama, his bread, bebeise, in the house in another chatzer, in that mavui. So basically, there were 2 things going on here. There was a shul, and then there was also a house. And he would sleep in his room in the shul. So he had a room in the shul. He also had a room. He had a house where he ate. Right. So Mamela, there's 2 houses going on over here. So that's why Shmuel matered it. It wasn't just 1 house. It was a 1 house with a shul, and the shul had a place to sleep. And Mamela.
So Mamela what?
So Mamela, there were multiple houses there. So it doesn't mean. So it's no chiddush that Shmuel
considered
matered it.
2 houses and 2 chatzeres.
What?
It's considered 2 houses and 2 chatzeres.
It was. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Where's the 2 chatzeres?
What?
The 2 houses are the shul where the shamash slept, and on the house. And where's the 2 chatzeres?
No, it must have been another house. I thought it was another house in another chatzer. There were 2 chatzeres with 2 houses. That's what you have to say. It has to be, otherwise the whole teretz doesn't work, right? In the chatzer with this person in Ava, in the chatzer of Ava, there was a house. Again, Ava had a house, right? And there was a shul. Then we're saying that there was another house in another chatzer.
Read the Gemara inside. There was a chazzan.
He ate in his house.
Right.
Right. And then he would come sleep in the shul.
Does it say anything about a chatzer?
No, but it has to be. It has to be that there were chatzeres. How otherwise there's no shot. The house must have been in a different chatzer. Has to be. right? Yeah, that's the only other way to say pshat. Otherwise, how is Shmuel being muddy? You need to have two houses into you have two chatzeres, two houses in each chatzer. But here's the problem. What was Rav Anan thinking? Right? Rav Anan came and threw down the lechi. That means he was very confident that a lechi shouldn't be matter. But what do you mean? We're saying now that there was two chatzeres with two houses. Right?
Oh, it's a separate.
So Rashi says, it seems like Rav Anan, it was before they made this room in the shul to allow the chazzan, the shamish, to sleep there. That's what it seems. So in Mela was only one. It's considered only one house, not two houses. That's the way Rashi says it.
Where's Rashi?
Rashi, v'asi bayis b'bei knishta.
Oh, Pesuach Lamavur. It was open to what?
To that mavui. V'hashtek jadi Rav Anan lo have a chazan bayis b'hu b'bei knishta. There was no chazan at that point sleeping in the shul.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, yeah.
Right. But here's the thing. So what was the pshat in the Machlokes? Ve'evos bar'i savar makam pisagar. He held that wherever he eats is the main place. That even though he no longer used the shul, right, it should still be okay. Right? B'Shmuel l'tamei to Amar makam lina garam, and Shmuel saying that no, the makam of the sleep is garam. That's why Rav Anan threw it down. Right? Meaning they were not understanding the difference between what was his name? Avos. Avos, the difference between Avos and Rav Anan is that Avos thought that even though the shamish stopped hanging out in the shul, that should still be enough. He stopped eating in the shul. That should still be enough. And Shmuel disagreed and said, well, it's not really Shmuel, but Rav Anan understood that Shmuel wouldn't say that. And therefore, he said, since it's no longer be used as multiple houses, therefore the lechi no longer works. Right? That's basically the Machlokes. That's basically the story that went happen.
Sorry, again. What again? Makam Pisagarim or Makam Lina? Again, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so Makam Pisa, he is right. Avos Bari held that Makam Pisa's Garum, that's what a person's considered living. Right? Yeah?
Yeah.
So the Gabai, whatever, the Shamish didn't use the shul anymore.
Did not?
Right? He did not. Right? Because he was eating someplace. He was sleeping in one place and eating in another place.
Where was he sleeping?
So Avos thought that since he's eating in one place and another place, so that was the pshat in Shmuel. So therefore, the lechi should still be okay. And then we're saying Shmuel makam lina garim. No, it's the place where he sleeps is garim, and we don't care about eating, right? Now, since the Gaba is no longer sleeping in the shul, so therefore it's not considered a bias anymore, and there's nobody living in that house. So
and
therefore,
one house, one chatzer.
Correct. Therefore, it's only one house, one chatzer. Memela, it's probably two chatzeres, but only one house going into that chatzer.
And that's why Rabbanan threw it down.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Very good. Okay. Thank you for helping me clarify that. Okay, so weiter. Amar of Yehuda Amar Rav. Yeah. Mavui shetzidei echad oived kechavim, v'tzidei echad Yisrael. A mavui, that one side was a goy, and the other side was a Yisrael, right? Ein ma'arvin oisei derech halaynos latiroi derech psachim l'mavui. We're not going to allow you to make an eruv through windows to be matter through the door of the mavui. Okay? If you see the Rashi has art scrolls is probably more what do you call? But the Rashi's again, there's a mavui in the middle there, or towards the left. To one side of the mavui is a guy's house. To the right side of the mavui is a Yisrael's house, right? But there's only one house of a Yisrael that opens up to the mavui. The other two Yisrael's houses only open up through a window, right? Meaning, so the two houses, like there's three Yisrael's houses. The two Yisrael's houses on the right have no access to the mavui, only through their windows. Right? The one to the far right can only get to the mavui through the guy in the middle, who can only then hand something through his window to get out that way. Right? So therefore, the question is, now you only have a guy's house and a yid's house opening to the mavui. The other two yidden can't really access the mavui, only through the other yid. So the question is going to be, is that considered, and this, well, it's going to be the question ultimately is do we consider this mavui as if two yidden's houses open to the mavui or not? And do we consider the guy's house or not? Right, that's going to basically be the question.
Like the picture in Rashi,
yeah.
There's a house, there's a window, then there's a chatzer.
Into the mavui, the main focus is the mavui. The mavui has a guy opening up into it, so the shaila number one is going to be, do we look at a guy's house that it's even a house? Remember way back, like 10, 15 blot ago, we had that shaila. Is a guy's house a house?
Right.
That's going to be A. B, we have three Yisrael's houses that could potentially access the mavui, but they can only access through the windows. One of them could get through a door. The other two can only access through a window. Is that considered multiple houses in order to be matar the mavui with a lechi or not? Right? That's going to be the question.
Rashi,
I don't understand.
Yeah.
Don't you need two houses and two chatzeros?
Yeah, but it's asking about this one.
Oh, it's a chatzer akum, not bias akum. Yeah. So it could be 15 guy in there. There's one chatzer.
Right, good point. Right, it's a chatzer of a guy and a chatzer of a Yisrael opening to a mavui. Right, the two ones that are on either side of mavui are chatzeros. The other two are houses. Yeah, very good.
where's the picture of the two houses? Rashi says chatzer.
Chatzer Yisrael, then to the right of that is Beis Yisrael and Beis Yisrael.
There's only one Beis Yisrael I see in Rashi.
I don't know, in my Rashi's picture only has, how new of a Gemara you have?
It's the article in there, there's no.
They don't have that. It's not the Rashi to the left of the.
Three houses. There's three different Eden, right next, one after the other.
You have three?
I have three. What do you have?
One.
I have two. Chatzer Yisrael, Bias Yisrael, Bias Yisrael.
Three of Yidden, though, right?
No, but the chatzer is really two Yidden. There's two houses of Yidden that go into that chatzer. The question is if the chaloi between the two houses is enough to say the two houses go into the chatzer.
I'm saying, but you have in your picture it says
There's
Yisrael, Beis Yisrael, Beis Yisrael.
No, there's Beis Yisrael.
Beis Yisrael, Chatzer Yisrael.
Beis Yisrael, Chalon, chatzer Yisrael.
That's what I have.
What?
I don't think. Rabban, how many Beis Yisraels do you have?
One.
Really only one. It says there's three divisions, but it says by one Beis Yisrael.
Oh, so okay.
Then it says
So you
Chalon, then it says chatzer. But it's
so you
three
must
divisions.
have okay. So it must that Beis Yisrael really should be. I guess the newer Gemaras have it in there that they made the base. I guess for us dumb guys need to know that it's two houses of a Beis Yisrael. Okay,
You guys,
I have an article the way where Aaron has it.
It's 50 years old. You guys
Well,
are
I have an
used to
article with
knocking down walls and making bigger houses. You know,
there you, very good. Very good.
I have it the same way Rav Aaron has it.
Because
I have an
you
art
must
scroll.
have an older art scroll. You must have an older art scroll.
But I have in the English side a new picture that has three houses by Yidden, then a mavui, and then a guy's house.
Yeah,
the
listen,
bottom.
the pshat in the Gemara didn't change, Naftali. It's just a matter of the artistry or whatever they changed, right?
So
That's
there's
all.
so there's two Yiddish houses.
Two Yiddish houses opening to one Yiddish chatzer, and
Yeah,
then on the other side of the mavui is a guy's chatzer.
good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So now the question is going to be, is those Beis Yisrael can only act, the two Beis Yisraels, or one, whichever, can only access the chatzer Yisrael through a window. They don't have a door. So the question is that considered multiple houses into a chatzer in order to allow that mavui with a lechi or a koreh? Yeah, so let's see again in the Gemara. Samar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Mavui shetzidei echad oived kechavim v'tzidei echad Yisrael. One side is a guy, one side is Yisrael. Ein ma'arvin oisei derech haloinos la'tiroi derech psachim l'mavui. We are not allowed to make an eruv through the windows to be mater going through the doorways to the mavui. Right? Yeah? So that we're saying it doesn't work. That's not good enough. Rav Yosef, Amar Rav afilu b'chatzer. Did Rav say this even in a chatzer? Meaning he said this then by a mavui, that this is not going to work. This arrangement is not enough. What about, he's saying, Abaye asked Rav Yosef, would he say this even in a yard? Right? Meaning within a yard itself, you have two houses, a guy's house and a yid's house in a yard, not like the picture in Rashi. Within one chatzer, a guy's house, a yid's house, and then two yidden can only access the yard through the other yid's house. What do they call it? Railroad bedroom? Railroad, right? They call it railroad?
Yeah.
Access, but I guess it's through window. So Amalei in, so he says, yeah, he answered him back, in, yes, he would say the same thing by chatzer. Diloy Omar Mai, if he wouldn't say it, what would you think? Meaning, why would you think not? No, because I thought that Rav only holds that you cannot be mater a mavui with a lechi and koreh until this bottom and chatzer is psuchon l'soichen, right? What? Multiple, right? Yeah. So maybe the reason why he didn't allow it by mavui is because he didn't look at it like it's multiple houses, right? Yeah. So, but by a chatzer maybe it would work because a chatzer doesn't have this mavui business. So Kamash Malon, they're saying that it's not. That's not the concern. So then the tarti lomali. So why do you need two dinim for? Why do you have to say it twice? Right? You're saying the same halacha twice. Right? So meaning because we already said we know that you need to have into a mavui two chatzeres with two houses. Right? So tzricha, no, you need a di'meahi, because if it would be from that case, havamina diras oived kechavim shma dira. You would have thought, no, maybe the reason why he's okay with it is because the dira of a guy is considered a dira. Kamash malan, the diras oived kechavim lo shma dira. We don't look, right? We said this a few blot ago. A guy's house, we look at it like it's an animal's house, right? So kamash malan, the diras oived kechavim lo shma dira, right? Ve'ime hacha havamina. We don't know how many houses there are, right? But meaning not how many houses there are. We don't know how many houses are necessary in order to make an eruv and a chatzer, right? So Kamash Malon, Batim train. No, you need two houses to each chatzer in order to allow a mavui. Okay. So Hashad Amar Rav. Afilu chatzer. Now that Rav is saying that even a chatzer, with meaning a yid and a guy's chatzer together, time of the Rav, the kasavar also lasas yachad b'makom ma'aver kechavim. Maybe the reason is because he holds that you're not allowed to let one guy live alone with a guy, right? Yeah. So therefore we don't want that.
Wait, because it's usher. Because it's also you're not allowed to live there, or because you can't make an eruv and the guy's in the same place?
Well, the same thing. We don't want you. I don't know if you're not allowed, but we don't want you living there. So therefore, we don't let you make the eruv.
Yeah, but which point is it going on?
What do you mean?
There's 2 points to that story. First of all, we don't want you there. It could just be saying that he's not allowed to live there, or is he saying that you're allowed to live there, but you can't make an eruv? The Lashon doesn't say he can't make an eruv. The Lashon says, "Asa lases yachid b'makom kechavim." What lases means to make an eruv or to allow it to happen.
I think it means to allow it to happen.
No, nothing to do with Ilchus Eruvin.
Right.
That's what Rashi says. Lodur yochid makmei b'kechavim.
Rashi.
But then Rashi adds lefichach lo yarbu. But the asalasis is going on lodur, not the eruv.
So he says Rashi said v'lo yishem shanu oy b'mavui kadei sheyeh yachid. He should. They don't allow him to make the eruv like this. He'll be a yachid, and then he's going to be scared of the guy, and then he's going to leave.
Yeah, but the asalasis itself, the isser is not to make an eruv. The isser is to live there. But he decided to buy a house there.
See, I don't know. Is it usher to live with it, or it's not usher?
So Rashi says,
No, it's usher for us to allow him to. Like, all right, I hear what you're saying.
I don't know.
The Rashi look. The Rashi also allows us. It's a big Rashi. You tell.
Right.
Also, it's a big Rashi. Tells you a lot of stuff in there.
Right. So the Bach takes out the word lodur though.
Yeah, I just saw that.
So I don't know if that changes it or not. Right.
It doesn't look like it. It looks like it's mamash and isser. And therefore, we don't allow him to be ma'ariv. So he'll leave. But the isser, the etzem isser is to live there.
I hear.
Then how does someone go to a hotel?
How do you go to a hotel?
Well, that's why he takes the word lodur out. It's mamish to live there. To go to a hotel is okay, but to live there, to be permanent, that's usher.
I don't know. You ever heard of anybody not moving onto a block because he's the only yid?
I almost didn't.
What?
I almost didn't here. We're one of two yid now. But if I would have been the only one, this was a chashbon. I didn't know it was an isser though.
Out the halacha? I never heard of anybody.
No, I didn't know it was an isser, but Rashi seems to be saying that's the Gemara is saying it's mamish an isser.
Well, it's a chatzer, so it's a little different though because we don't really live in chatzeres, right? So, yeah, I hear. Okay, let's see weiter. So, which either way, I didn't learn that it was mamash and isser, but maybe Taki, you're right in the Rashi. I hear. Okay, so Amar Rav Yosef, Ihachi. So Rav Yosef said, right, Ihachi, if that's so, right, that Rav says is din by chatzer and mavui, hainu d'shmana leila Rav Tavla. This is what it means when I heard from Rav Tavla, Damar, Oived Kachavim Trei Zimni. I heard him talking about Oived Kachavim twice. But lo yadayna my Omar, I didn't know what he was saying. Why is he talking about two cases of Oived Kachavim? But now it all makes sense. Because he was talking about one case of having a guy in the mavui, in the chatzer, and one talking about having it, in the mavui with the chatzer, and one having it in the chatzer. So that's what Rav Tavla meant. Yeah. Okay. So the daf's over, but we gotta go weiter for Friday, right? Okay. So the next, it's not really hard, but it's slightly technical, even though we had this whole Mishnah already. So Zok the Mishnah. Shtei chatzeros. You have two chatzeros. Zulifne mizu. One chatzer within another chatzer. Right, so we've said this quite a few times. You have a dead end, right? You have a dead end, and you have one chatzer, and then you have another chatzer in front of it. The only way to access the street, the only way for the backyard to access the street, like we just said, it's like a railroad. They can only get through the front chatzer. So now they have to make an eruv with each other. Yeah. So hapnime shtei chatzeros zulifne mizu irva hapnimis. If the inner chatzer made an eruv, and the outer chatzer did not make an eruv. Now remember, the inner eruv by default has access to the outer chatzer. The inner chatzer has access to the outer chatzer. Otherwise, they're stuck in their yard the whole Shabbos. Right? So irva panimis, if the inner chatzer made an eruv amongst each other, and the outer eruv did not make an eruv. So the inner one is going to be mutter to carry. Asura. That's pashut, right? The inner one can carry amongst each other. The outer one can't. But let's say the outer one makes an eruv and the inner one does not. Right? Now the inner one can walk right through the outer one. So the Mishnah is saying, what does it help that the outer one made an Eruv? Since the inner one didn't make an Eruv, they aser the outer one. Right? So shtei and asuras, then they're going to both be aser. The inner one because they never made an Eruv, and the outer one because the inner one didn't make an Eruv, and they have access to the outer one. Irva zula atma v'zula atma. So that's all if they didn't make Eruvin with each other, didn't make Eruv with each other. Irva zula atma v'zula atma. If each one made their own Eruv, but they didn't make an Eruv together, zum mutaris b'fnei atma, zum mutaris b'fnei atma. This one's mutar by itself, this one's mutar by itself, but they can't carry to each other because they never made an Eruv with each other. Rebbe Kiva Eiser Hachitzaina, but the Rebbe Kiva will aser the outer one. We had this Rebbe Kiva a couple of times. Again, 2 yards, one behind the other. They both make an Eruv amongst each other. They don't make an Eruv together. So the Tanakama holds it's they can each carry in their own yard, but they can't carry to each other. And Rebbe Kiva says no. The outer one can't carry at all. Why? Because the inner guys have access to the outer. And since they have access to the outer, and they didn't make an error with them, they aser the outer, because it's as if they have people that are in their chatzer that didn't partake in error. Right?
I don't understand the Tanakama. As far as we know until now, there's only 2 ways of looking at carrying in a chatzer. Either it's my chatzer, or I'm a guest in that chatzer. If it's my chatzer, I need to make an eruv. If I'm a guest, I do not need to make an eruv. These inner guys, what are they as far as the outer guys are concerned? Do we consider the inner guys as if they have 2 chatzeros, or they're guests in the outer chatzer?
It seems like what
they're guests.
So according to Reb Kiva, sounds like Drisas Haregel makes you part of the Eruv. And the Tanakhama say no, like you're saying. They're just guests. They shouldn't ask.
So if they're guests, then both should be mutter.
They are.
If they both made their own Eruv.
They are.
I'm saying if they both made their own Eruv, the inner ones should be mutter in the outer chatzer, but they're not.
Why? Because why? No, but they're guests. They're guests. In order to be able to carry in the chatzer, they can't carry from their chatzer to the outer chatzer. They don't have an Eruv for. They don't have an Eruv for that. Meaning, right? If the outer ones made an Eruv amongst themselves and they have guests, okay, so the guests go with them, right?
So in that chatzer they can carry.
Yeah. So again, so the Tanakama holds Taka. It's a good way to be masbir the way you said it. The Tanakama holds that the inner guys can carry in the inner one, and the outer guys can carry in the outer one, but they can't carry to each other, right? Rebbe Kiva says no. Rebbe Kiva has a chiddush. He says the inner guys, since the inner guys have access to the outer guys, because that's the way for them to get out. So Mamela and they didn't make an Eruv, so therefore they're considered like regular card-carrying members of the outer chatzer, and they didn't participate in the Eruv. So therefore they aser the outer one. All right, so let's see that. The first white line, Rebbe Kiva Eiser, Hachitzaina, he asers the outer one. Shadrisa Saregel Eisarta. The drisa saregel, the really means the stomping of the feet, the walking of the feet, can make them aser. But Chachamim ain't drisa saregel Eisarta, and the Chachamim say not. We're going to see in the Gemara. Seems like these two shitas are saying the same thing. What?
Why would drisa saregel stop? I could put, let's say, a gate between the inner and the outer, and then the inner can walk through by.
Right, so very good. So the Gemara is going to discuss that. The Gemara is going to discuss what happens if they put up a gate. If they put up a gate, will the din change? And a chanami. Yeah, we'll discuss that. That's very good. So weiter shokach echad min achitzoyna. Now next case, one of the guys on the outer yard, v'lo eruv, and he didn't make an eruv. Then what? So then apnimis muteris, because they made a legitimate eruv. Achitzoyna asura, and the outer one is asur. Next case, min apnimis v'lo eruv. If the inner guy didn't make an eruv, shtein asuras, then they're both asur, like we said. Because if the inner one doesn't make an eruv and the inner one has access to the outer, so then they're going to make it asur. Nasnu eruv b'makam echad. If they put their eruv in one place, V'shokach echad, and meaning either they took their eruv and they put it all in the inner yard, or they took the eruv together and they put it in the outer yard. Yeah. So v'shokach echad bein min ha'pnimis bein min ha'chitzayna, whether it's one of the inner guys, whether it's one of the outer guys, v'lo eruv, and they didn't make the eruv shtein asuras, they're both asur. Oh, now a new did. If there's only one guy in the inner yard and one guy in the outer yard, they don't asur anything, because one-on-one doesn't asur. It has to be multiple people that make it asur, right? That's the pshat in that. Okay, so let's see. So ki asur of dimi amar Rav Yana, exactly Gemara. Ki asur of dimi amar Rav Yana, zu divi Rav Akiva. That even a foot that's mutter in its place, meaning the inner yard made an eruv, and it's mutter to carry there. But in Isera Shalom, when since they have access to the outer yard, then they're gonna aser if it's not in its place. Just like a regal that's mutter can't make something aser. So same thing, a regular asura can't make something aser. Meaning, when a regular muteris can't aser, right? Meaning, if I am allowed to walk around in my house, I don't aser your house, because what shaykhs do I have to your house? So same thing, the inner guys, they made an eruv. What does that have to do with them asering the outer? So kach regular asura ein aseres. So somebody who has to stick to his own yard is not going to go aser a different yard just because he's not allowed to carry there. Fine. So Tanan, if the outer one made an eruv and not the inner one, shtei asuras, they're both aser, right? Because the pnimis is they didn't make an eruv and they have access to the outer one. Money. So who is that? According to which sheet is this? If you say it's according to Rebbe Kiva, your regular surah, I feel a regular teres nami. Why are you saying if the inner eruv didn't make the inner chatzer didn't make an eruv? Even if the inner chatzer did make an eruv, they make it also. Elolav must be it's the Rabbanon. So what are you saying? That one is Rebbe Kiva, one is Rabbanon. So we say Lo'ilam Rebbe Kiva, but Lo'izu Afsu. It's really Rebbe Kiva, and it's a common rule that we have in Shas. It's not only in this case is it also, but even in this case it's also. So then we bring the next part of the Mishnah. If the inner yard made an eruv to itself, and the outer yard made an eruv to itself, this one is mutter by itself. This one's mutter by itself. Time at the irva. The reason is because they made an eruv. But if they didn't make an eruv, stay on asuras. They're both asur. Regular surah iseres money. So who's the mandomer that says that a regal that's mutter can't make anything asur, and a foot that's asur will make something? If you say it's Rebbe Kiva, feel regal muteris nami. Even according to Rebbe Kiva, even a foot that is allowed to carry because it made an eruv, even that's mutter. So kol shekain iser elulav rabbanon. He must be rabbanon. Void the sefer Rebbe Kiva, reisha lav Rebbe Kiva. Right? When the sefer is Rebbe Kiva, right, it must be that the reisha is not Rebbe Kiva. So the Gemara answers. So now basically we have all these cases in the Mishnah. Some are Rebbe Kiva, some are the Rabbanon. So we're trying to align all of them. So the Gemara answers, Kula Rebbe Kiva. Really, it's all Rebbe Kiva, right? And now if this is not confusing enough, now we got to add a Chesure Mechsera into here, right? So Chesure Mechsera, V'hachi Katani. This is how you have to learn the Mishnah. Ir v'zula atzma. If the inner one makes an eruv to itself, and the outer one makes an eruv to itself, Zumu teres b'fnei atzma. So then the inner one can carry in its eruv. And this one can carry in its one. But then when does that apply? Here, observe, this is what you're talking about. That's only where they put a small opening, right? We had this a few blot ago. We made it with when I say that I have no recollection what daf, that's why I'm saying that. I just remember, it's a vague memory that we had it. So don't anybody think that, I remember any more than anybody else. No, I just have a vague memory that we had it. That's only when the panemius, the chatzer that's towards the inside, put a small opening, right, to the outside. And Memela, they were basically showing that we're not interested in being with the outside. But if they didn't make this little opening, meaning they just left all the openings as regular, then the outer one is asur. Divi Rebbe Kiva. That's what Rebbe Kiva holds. Why should Rebbe Kiva Oiser Sechitzon Mipnei Shadrisas Oregel Oiseres? He answers the outer one because since the inner one has access with their feet to the outer one, it's going to make it also. But Chachamim ain't Drisas Oregel Oiseres. The Chachamim say no, Drisas Oregel does not answer. Fine. So Masiv, we're going to try and get to the two dots. Yes, so Masiv Rabbi Barabaya Vim Hayushal Yechidim ain't Tzrichin La'arav. If the yards were for Yechidim, meaning it was only one guy living in the inner yard and one guy in the outer yard, there's no need for an Erev. Hashal Rabim, Tzrichin La'arav. But if it would be many people, then they would have to make an Erev with each other. Amba, Regala Muteris V'Makoima, Ein Oiseres, Regala Asura Oiseres. Only a Regala Muteris in its place is not going to Aser, right? Because it's a Yachid. Regala Asura Oiseres. But somebody who is going to be Aser it is going to Aser, right? And that's not Rebbe Kiva, because Rebbe Kiva holds even a regular Muteris is Mutter. V'oid Masav Ravina asked another kasha. What was another case in the Mishnah? If one of the outer guys forgot and he didn't make an eruv, hapnimis muteris, the inside is mutter because they all made the eruv. And the outer one is also. If one of the inner guys forgot to make the eruv and he didn't make an eruv stay in asuras, then they're both asur, right? Because the inner guys have access to the outer yard. Time with the shokach, that's only because he forgot. Holei shokach. If he didn't forget staying with Taurus, they're both mutter. Amud regular muteris ain't oiseres. A regular muteris is not aser. Regular masura oiseres, and a regular that makes something aser is aser. Elo. So meaning one is mash again. One is mash like Rebbe Kiva. One is mash like the Rabbanon. Elo. Ki aser Rabin. Amar Rav Yana. Gimel machlokes bedavar. Okay, so gevaldik. Now we're getting down to it. There's 3 machlokes in here. Tanakava sova regula muteris ein oiseres. A regal that's mutter to walk through another person's yard cannot make that yard also, even if there was no eruv. Regal hasura, but if a regal is not allowed to walk through, then oiseres, right? Meaning a regal that's also to walk in his own yard is going to aser somebody else's yard. Rabbi Kiva sovar afilu regula muteris oiseres. And Rabbi Kiva says no, even somebody who's allowed to walk in his own yard is still gonna make an isser on somebody else's yard if he has access. For Rabbanan Basroi Sabri and the Rabbanan at the later Rabbanan, because there's 2 Rabbanans in the Mishnah, hold Kashem Sheregel Muteris Ein Oiseres, just like a Regel Muteris doesn't make something else, a Kach Regel Ha'asura Ein Oiseres. So too, even a Regel that's not allowed to carry in their own yard is not going to aser in somebody else's yard either. So basically, we have 3-way machlokes, and that's the pshat in cases in the Mishnah. All right. Yeah, that was not an easy Gemara. But okay, Shine.
Erev Shabbos, what time?
Oh, what time tomorrow? The convention is 5:44. So we only have to do one Amud.
So 5:15.
5:44, 5:15 sounds about right. 5:15. Yeah, Peretz, good with that? No good.
What time is Shir on Shabbos, by the way?
So tune in tomorrow. You'll find out.
Yeah, it's fine. 5:15.
Somebody
fine.
fill me in on what time Motzei Shabbos is, because I'm not going to be there.
But I don't know. That I guess we'll fight that out.
Now, so you can watch it on YouTube
9
like
o'clock.
the rest of us.
I know.
8
o'clock.
9 o'clock. So we started doing 8.
8 o'clock.
I still vote for 9:30.
8 o'clock Saturday night.
How about we have 2 dots? We'll have one at 8, one at 9. Oh.
That's fine
Are you
with
going to
me,
have a minyan
9:30.
this Shabbos? Because Shayash
Yeah.
have opened up?
We are having a minyan, yes. Sorry about that. You're welcome to come, but it's not going to be no meat like last week. I don't think.
Forget it then. You're lucky, Parrots, you did it last week.
That's why he did it. He didn't want any, he didn't want to lose that opportunity.
Those who dance and sing Rabbi Stein, that's who I had to, cater to.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah, man, a kid came up with it all by his own, man. With the clapping and the taunting, I don't know.
He must be, he's right after my mahalach. I must have taught him well.
Yeah. You're very rebbish. You're very, very rebbish.
Extremely.
Definitely where he got it from.
Yep.
This is where he comes in with the up hat and the bekisha.
That's right.
Yaakov, next land I was going to make
know where you
yarmulkes
live.
with your slogan on it.
like nanachs. I think that's the.
And what is that?
Oh, nice.
What is my
Rebbe
slide?
Stein.
You gotta find me a slogan. Though. I don't have a
Rebbe
slogan.
Stein. It's great. We sing it. My whole family sings it now all day.
This is your
There you go.
ringtone, isn't it, Naftali?
It will be if I can figure out how to make a ringtone.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
Shira,
Good to have
Shabbos,
you.
Avi, is he there, Avi?